guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to do a quick Q&A and I got a lot of questions, and so I'm going to try to get through all of the questions, as many as I can, before maybe I run out of storage on my camera or my camera dies or something happens. But I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. Now, there were a lot of questions that I already have videos for, and so if you do have a question that I already have a video for, I'm just going to point you to that video because it might be more helpful to get a full-on video answer than just like a quick answer from me as I'm trying to get through all of these. So I will have in the cards all the videos that were questions, and then you can also find them in the description below. So yeah, that's the video I'm going to be doing today. And also I wanted to make a quick statement that on Tuesday, that is the end of my campaign for my book, and we are way behind on raising money for this book. So if you guys can donate $1, $2, $5, $10, however much you can, even if it is $1, that would be super helpful. And I'll have the link in the description. And I got a lot of questions also about learning to cope with loneliness. How did you survive deployment and stuff like that? And this book is specifically about that. It's titled Joy and Loneliness, and how I found joy while Connor was deployed. And so that has really just given me a different outlook on having joy as a military wife. And so this book is just like really everything that I've learned and that God has walked me through in the military journey of loneliness. And so if you guys could support that, that would be amazing, because I know there's so many people that I can help with this book. So I will also have that campaign link in the description if you guys want to donate any amount. Again, any amount is helpful. So anyways, let's get started with some questions. All right, so there are like so many questions. So again, like I'm gonna try to keep them short and simple, and I might elaborate on some of them, but I'm gonna try to be as short as possible so that I can get to everyone's question. So first question was, how did you find a hobby while he was gone? I found hobbies by finding things that I either didn't know or really loved doing. So I didn't know when we first got married really how to cook. A lot of you guys who are OG Brit+Con fans know that I haven't always known how to cook, and I still really I'm still learning, but I really during deployment wanted to try new recipes. And so I filled my time like going to the grocery store, figuring out recipes, learning how to make stuff, and like trial and error type things. And then I also really love painting. I really love taking walks, finding things that like help me be at peace, things that brought me joy. I really love things like that. So whatever brings you joy or whatever may be a challenge to you, I would just encourage you to do those things while he's gone. Let's see, a favorite thing about being a military wife. I would say the things that you get to learn and grow in for being a military wife. I have a video titled The Real Benefits of Being a Military Wife, and I think that those things are my favorite because it's not the benefits of, you know, TRICARE or discounts or whatever. It's like the real joys. And so I think just getting to learn new things has always been my favorite thing. Did you ever worry that your husband's deployment would be extended? Yes, I did worry about that. And I was like, this better not happen because I'm gonna chop someone's face off if it does. Like, I was so done with deployment. And I was like, I just want my husband home. And luckily it didn't get extended. He actually came home early because he went on like the Tiger cruise or something so that he could actually come home early by 2 weeks. So he chose to do that, and so he came home early, which I was super excited about. How do I emotionally prepare for my husband's first deployment? So I got a lot of questions about deployment, and if you guys don't know or are new, I have a whole series on deployment from before Connor left to after Connor left to like the reintegration. And so every stage of what you're gonna go through on a deployment is in that series, and like days in my life and stuff like that. So I'll have that linked also. But personally, I don't think you can mentally prepare. I think you can definitely process with God and process with your significant other, the angers that you're feeling and the disconnectedness and the, you know, things like that. But there's always this anticipation that it's about to happen. And I don't think that that can go away emotionally because you know it's about to happen. I personally feel like you can only emotionally prepare for deployment once they're gone, because they're finally gone, the anticipation's gone, you know, they finally left, and now you can process, okay, how do I get through these next 6 months, year? How can I do that? What things do I need to do, you know, to find friendship or to find things that I love and stuff like that? I think while they're there, it's really hard to process because there's a lot of anger that's happening, a lot of tension. And like I said, you can definitely process those emotions, but I don't know if you can ever like prepare for them leaving. I just think that like them leaving is so hard that I don't know how you can prepare for that. Do you get scared about your husband's safety, especially during deployment? Honestly, during deployment, I didn't. Before that, when he would go small places, I would get worried, but during deployment, God really worked in my heart. And so almost every single day I would pray for him and pray for his safety, and through all of those prayers, like I never had to worry because I always knew that God was protecting him. And so God really was giving me lots and lots of peace during Connor's deployment. So before that I did get scared, but through like prayer and just trusting in God, I didn't like have a fear. And I think that's one of the like what ifs that I always talk about, of you can be fearful of the what ifs, but nothing's gonna change. You can be fearful of their safety, but what can you do? You can't go and save them. You can't change the future. You can't do any of those things. So worrying and fearing about their safety is kind of like pointless. You really just have to trust God that they are safe. And if you don't have faith, just hope that everything's gonna be okay. But being afraid and being worried, I've learned, is kind of just pointless. Did you ever experience tension or distance before deployment? Definitely, that kind of goes with the question before. There's always gonna be tension and always gonna be anger because you lash out to the people that you're closest to, and whenever you're scared, whenever you're anxious, that kind of builds up into anger, and so then you lash out and there creates tension. And so the key is to really process your emotions with your significant other and to explain to them like, these are the things that I'm feeling and I just need you to help me process them, because I don't want to be angry at you and I don't mean to be angry at you, but like I'm scared, I don't want you to leave, or you know, I'm sad because I don't want you to leave, and this is how it's coming off. Like this is creating tension in our relationship and I don't want that. So I really just want to process with you. So just coming at it in a different point of view of like, just I need you to understand me and this is my heart, really changes the whole perspective of like what's actually going on. So that's kind of what we learned, but there definitely was tension at first until we realized we need to process with each other. Was it hard telling your family you got married young? No, because Connor and I had been together for 4 years already, and at this point my mom was like, y'all should just get married, which is so crazy because when we first started dating, like my mom is super strict and she like wouldn't even let us kiss in front of her, and so and like I just like felt like I couldn't kiss in front of her anyways because it was just like so weird. My mom just like, again, she was super strict, and so for her to tell us to get married was like crazy. So, and then of course his mom was like super excited, so it wasn't hard telling them. They were actually encouraging us too, which was funny. How do you feel about Milsos doing online college? Think it's awesome. Any way you can get your degree is awesome. I totally believe in military spouses getting their degrees and pursuing their careers because I think that's awesome. What is your favorite base to live? What is your dream station? I had a couple questions about this. We've never been the military couple that's like, our dream station is, like, we're just, I don't know why, we're just not like that. I really loved the San Diego station. I think Connor was on 42nd Street, and I don't know if that's the one I specifically liked, but I liked one of them, and I really love Coronado. And so I like the bases there, but I didn't like living there just because I didn't really like the fast-paced lifestyle. And I've always wanted to go to Hawaii and live in Hawaii, but I also wouldn't like the island life. So I'm like, I have no specific, this is the base I would want to live on. I'm just kind of like a go with the flow type of person, and wherever God leads us, that's where he leads us. So how do you deal with jealousy with your husband's coworkers, especially when they are away? I think I had another question about this too, just jealousy in general. And I think it's super, super, super important in relationships to have strong boundaries. If you don't have strong boundaries, then that's where there leads to jealousy. That's where things happen and boundaries are crossed and things like that. And when you both have understanding boundaries, that creates a healthy relationship. If you as a woman are forcing boundaries on him and telling him he can't do things, that's when he can go off and do things, or vice versa. And you feel like you're in a controlling relationship where that's never what you want. You both have to have an understanding of these are our boundaries. For Connor and I, we don't have friends of the opposite sex unless we are also friends with that opposite sex. So for me, I have 2 coworkers who are around my age who are males. Connor is friends with them first. And then I am friends with them second. I don't go and say, hey, we should hang out, hey, we should do this. Connor hangs out with them, Connor is friends with them and stuff like that. And then I also work with them and I'm friends with their wives. So I'm friends primarily with their wives and not them, even though I work with them. So for us, it's like we don't want to be specifically friends with the opposite sex because we don't want to cross those boundaries. Because the closer you get to an opposite sex person, the more you let them in, the closer they get. And we just believe the closeness of relationship is purely reserved for a relationship that's together or is married. If you want to be close to someone, like really close to someone, then you should just date them. In my opinion, you shouldn't have a relationship and then also be close to someone else. Like that just doesn't make sense. You shouldn't be dating this person if you're gonna be closer to your best friend who's the opposite sex. So I would just encourage you to have that conversation. If you are jealous, to set boundaries with your significant other. And that also applies to you. If you're gonna set boundaries with him, you also need to have boundaries for yourself. So yeah, hopefully that answered the question. Did you ever doubt your choice in being in a military relationship? No, I have a few other questions about this too. I never really doubted it like hardcore. I did question like, wow, this is really hard and now I'm a military wife, but I never was like, I don't want to be a military wife anymore. I was never like that. And I have a video on Is It Worth It that I did probably like a month ago that I'll add so you can take a look at. How long did it take you to move in with your husband? I spent a year apart from Connor after we were married to finish college, and so it took me a year, but usually it doesn't take that long, but for me it did. How long is the process of marriage and moving out in the military? It's usually about 2 to 4 weeks, the paperwork processes, but it can be quicker. Did you and Connor ever fear divorce? That's a heavy question. I think the first year or two I feared divorce, mostly because our marriage was in a really, really, really hard space and we've never really gotten into it, but our marriage was basically at its worst that it's ever been. And for Connor, he's never thought about divorce with me. Like, not to say that he loves me too much, because like he does love me a lot, but he grew up with the family that, like, I don't know if many of his family members are divorced, and so he never saw that. And so his idea was just to love me forever, which is great. I love that. But for me, I grew up around divorce, and so for me, that was like an easy thing that can come into my mind of like, things don't work out, divorce. But through each thing that we've gone through, I've always had the mindset that because I've seen divorce, I don't want that to be our marriage. I want us to be together forever, no matter what happens. Even if the worst sin of sin happens, like, I want to fight for our marriage and try to reconcile before there's ever a thought of divorce. In our first year of marriage, like, it got to a really bad point where I was fearing, like, can I handle this anymore as a wife? But I just kept pursuing God, kept pursuing my marriage, and now it's like in a healthier place. And so I'm glad that I did. But for like a really, really short time, there was that fear of like, can I do this? Have you ever met any mean or unwelcoming military wives? Yes. The first FRG meeting that I went into, I walked in, no one asked me my name, no one said hi to me. They handed me a paper and I basically went to go sit down, and it was like very uncomfortable because I was like, is this what like military wives are? I don't remember who it was. I kind of like blocked it out of my memory a little bit, but there were, like, I would say unwelcoming, because they didn't even care to know my name. Are there a lot of times when your husband would come home and just want to sleep? For sure. They're tired people. They work a lot. Connor has night shift duty days all the time and just comes home and wants to sleep. Kind of like a side note to this question though, I think relationships become a problem when all the guys do is sleep and don't pursue you and the relationship. One thing that Connor does that he hasn't always done, but he does now, is if he's going to be tired, if he's going to sleep, if he's just going to rest, he makes intentional time for me and to spend time with me. Because if they're just going to sleep and then not hang out with you, you start to feel very distant. and you start to get angry because all they're doing is sleeping. So guys, I would just encourage you that if you're always sleeping or you're always tired, to make intentional time to connect with your significant other, because you could be spending 22 hours sleeping, but if you spend just those 2 hours having intentional conversations with her, it's gonna mean the world to her. Like, because you spent time talking to her, that's important. So, but yeah, Connor does, whenever, specifically when he has night shift duty days, he like is just so tired he sleeps. Does your family speak fluent Spanish? Yes, they do, except for me. I do not. How can a husband help support and be there for his wife while on deployment? So one thing that Connor did while he was on deployment was anytime they ported, like I said, he would intentionally spend time talking to me on the phone. And for Connor, because he was on a ship, he only ported 4 times like that whole 6 months. And so it was very rare that we were able to talk on the phone, and so he wanted to be intentional with his time. So when he first got there, he would spend like the whole day just talking to me. The second day, he would then talk to me in the morning right before he was gonna leave and go you know, sightsee or play golf or whatever, and then at night he would come back and he would talk to me again. And then the third day, if he was there a third day, then he would talk to me in the morning, maybe go out and do one last thing before they left, and then talk to me again right before they left. And so he would be intentional with his time, and I think that's super important, because it's great that, you know, you guys want to relax your legs and you want to adventure and things like that, because you're out there, you know, serving our country, and you work hard and you just want to relax, which is super important and totally understandable. But making time for your significant other and making them feel important while you're out there is also important, because if you go out and you're just super selfish with your time and you're like, you know, just spent this much time working and blah, 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 I deserve to relax a little bit, you then make your significant other seem not important at all. You make yourself seem more important than her. And in relationships, it's all about sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice your time to spend 15 minutes on the phone with her, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship. So by being intentional in talking to her, you are just supporting her in so many ways. By one, and the biggest, just emotionally supporting her. And also, well, if you're not ported, just remembering to send letters, or if you have internet connection, maybe sending a little gift that helped you think about her, just small notes and things like that. I know Connor did this while I was in college. He would send me pizza for dinner, and I know other couples have done that before too. So just letting them know that you're thinking about them is amazing support, because it makes us feel a little bit closer to you, even though we're like miles away. Did you ever struggle with knowing that it's worth it? Nope, got a video on that. Did you make friends at every duty station? No. Via Facebook groups. No, I tried a Facebook group. It was too much drama for me and too much like negative, and I personally just can't handle negative stuff. Like you guys know, like I'm just such a positive person, and I always want to see the blessings, and so I couldn't do the Facebook group. But I didn't make friends in San Diego because I didn't go out and seek them, which I regret. But then second, I have made friends here in Washington at my church home. So have you experienced advice on dealing with helping military significant other with PTSD? So kind of to preface this answer, one of the things that we're doing at my church right now is creating a military ministry. And there was this guy who came in to talk to us about PTSD to help us understand it better. So one of the cool things that he said while he was talking to us about PTSD is that he explained that almost everyone struggles with PTSD. And whether that's, you know, you getting into a car accident, or your significant other cheats on you, or like for me, I had a really traumatic experience whenever I was little where, you know, my mom got us up in the middle of the night because we had to leave a really unhealthy situation. And so it was really just traumatic for me, and just like a couple other traumatic experiences just from my childhood. But everyone in some way, if you feel like something is traumatic to you, you struggle with PTSD. And another thing that he said is, as a wife or as a significant other, you also struggle with PTSD, because you are now having to walk through your significant other dealing with PTSD, dealing with anger, dealing with stress, dealing with triggers, and that can also trigger you. And so I think the only way to deal with PTSD or walk with someone through it is counseling, maybe PTSD groups, but some way seeking help. You cannot help them deal with PTSD. They cannot deal with PTSD on their own. They really have to process it with someone, and in order to process, they have to go seek a counselor or go seek some type of group, because that's the only way they're going to be able to process all of these things. And so yeah, I would just really encourage you to encourage them to go to one of those options, because that's super important. And the military also offers counseling for PTSD, so I would just kind of again encourage them to do that. Moving to Alaska as my husband's first duty station next week, any tips? I just met some friends who moved from Alaska, that was their duty station, to Everett, and they said that, which I knew, but I forgot, that half of the year in Alaska is dark, half of the year is light. So what they were telling me is a lot of military wives struggle because you can fall into depression because half of the year is dark. So I would encourage you to take some vitamin D supplements while you're there so you're not vitamin D deficient, and also maybe getting a sun lamp so you're getting those vitamins. That's really all I know about Alaska, so that seems pretty heavy. So if you don't already know that, there's possibly a tip. What is it like, your experience integrating into the wives culture? And then also her second question, how did you find other Christians within the military community? Are they out there? So I feel like I never integrated into the wife military culture, because like I said, I went into the FRG and no one welcomed me, no one said hi to me, and so I felt very like, I don't want to be a part of this. And I feel like looking back, maybe I could have been a part of that and changed the way that the wives acted, and I could have been kind of the light in the darkness type of thing. But just at the time, I was very new to military wife life, and so when that happened, I was just like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. So I don't know, if I kind of just became my own wife as a military wife. I didn't like associate with any culture. I just became my own, joyful Brittany military wife self. And then about 6 months after that, I was going to my church, and more military wives started coming to the church that we went to, and they were around my age, and they were super, super sweet. And so there definitely are military wives who are Christians, but I feel like, and I don't want to say this as a broad term because it's probably a lie, but like the older military wives for me have always been like kind of rude, and I don't like that that's a thing. And maybe it's because they do have more experience, maybe it's because they've been through a lot, but I have met some military wives who are older and who are really sweet and love the Lord, but it's been very rare for me to find that, and I don't like that stigma, but I just kind of became my own wife. I didn't really get into the military wife culture. But there are, again, like there are Christians in the military community, so military Christian wives unite. Okay, what has your experience been with TRICARE? How do you feel about military insurance, stuff like that? I personally have always had really good experience with TRICARE, and I've heard like the opposite from a lot of people, but I would say the only bad thing is that I wanted Invisalign and I had just turned 24, and now they weren't gonna pay for it because they only pay for it until you're 23. So I was like, dang you, TRICARE. But other than that, like, I have had amazing coverage. I just have the TRICARE standard, which you can go off base, and I personally like that better, that you can go off base, because I think base doctors and dentists are the worst. From Connor's experience having to go to a dentist and to go to medical, like, he's just had very bad experiences, and so I'm like, I don't want to go there. So luckily I've always just had standard, and so I've been able to go off base. You do pay a little bit more because you don't have the on base one, but personally it's not a lot, and I think that it's worth it for sure, because you get people who aren't paid by the government, and I think that if you're not paid by the government, you have spring to your step and you actually want to help people. I don't know, but I just personally like standard better. But so far I've really liked having TRICARE, and I just got the TRICARE vision plan, and I think it's like through Atina or something, and lowest amount I've ever had to pay for contacts, and I think we only pay $8 a month, so it's like amazing. I think I only paid like $20 for a year supply of contacts. Like, it was a crazy number. I was like, This has never happened to me, but yeah, so far I really like them. When Connor returned from deployment, was there an adjustment period for you two? For sure, there always is. It's reintegration, and you have to learn how to communicate. You have to learn how to live together again. You have to learn how to designate roles, and there's just a lot of things that you have to learn. So there definitely is a reintegration period. Oh, my camera's gonna die. Tips to survive deployment, have a whole series on that. Building godly community when you're brand new to an area. First thing I would check out is your church, because you can always get plugged in and find military wives, and then joining the FRG. Again, my experience could be different than yours, so hopefully there are some Christian women in your FRG group, but I always just say just go to the church, and if you're close to a base, there's usually going to be military wives there. Favorite scripture, Matthew 6:34 and Jeremiah 29:11. I won't say them because my camera's gonna die, but those are my favorite, about just fear of the future, worrying, things like that. Did you ever feel like giving up during all the time he was not there? Nope, never felt like giving up. Love Connor 1,000,000%. I knew that even in my darkest periods and my darkest seasons, that God was using that to strengthen me and to show me his blessings. And so I always just like wanted to push through. Even in my tears, I was like, what are you showing me, God? Oh, this is so hard. And then it just like came out stronger. And so I never felt like giving up, never felt like leaving him, like none of those things. I got that question one time. Have you ever felt like leaving him? Never felt that. I have always been 100% for Connor, and just like so in love with him. So, and then last question, hopefully my camera doesn't die. How are you positive in a military relationship? My perspective is that you can either be two things. You can either be negative or you can be positive, and I choose to be positive. And in each circumstance you have to choose. So you have to choose, are you going to be negative? Are you going to be positive? And when you're sitting on the floor crying and eating ice cream and you're like, my life sucks, this sucks, you're choosing to be sad. Like, you're choosing that, even though it's a natural reaction, it's like totally valid. You have to choose like to get up after you're done crying, after you're done being sad. You have to choose to get up, be positive, put on clothes, walk out that door, go get you a burger, go get you a new pair of shoes, go do something so that you're not feeling the weight of sadness alone in your house. And for me, like, again, I've seen so many blessings that God has given me that I just continue to be positive, because I know that he has blessed us with so many opportunities and so many things. And I feel like we live in a world and culture where it's okay to be angry if you're wronged, or if something happened to you, or it's okay to complain, or it's okay to be petty and bitter and things like that. And it's okay for that, but like, my perspective is it's not okay to be that way. It's not okay to complain and to be angry. Like, you need to see the blessings in life and the beauty that God is doing in you, that he's strengthening you, that he is giving you opportunities to like submit yourself into a new culture and things like that. And so to see the opposite side of the negative has always made me be a positive person, because I have dealt with a lot of traumatic and hard circumstances in my life. And if I chose to let those define me, I would be an angry person. Like, a lot of you guys probably don't know this, but I struggle a lot with anger because I have a lot of baggage that's in my heart and things that I am still having to process and that God is bringing out of me. But if I chose to live in anger, like, I would not be this positive. But I choose to live in the positive because of how much I've seen God work and the things that he has done in my life. So it's really a simple thing. You just have to choose being positive, which isn't easy at first, but it does come easy the more you do it and the more that you see the blessings. But anyways, so that was a lot. My camera is like so close to dying, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, if I said I had a video for your question, they will be in the cards or linked in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and answered a lot of your questions, and I will see you guys in my next video. Also, be sure to donate to the campaign. So anyways, I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.